Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. I welcome you all for today's session of Unlock Lockdown, a series of webinars organized by Anand Vishwa Gurukul Junior College. Today is our 19th webinar. I welcome our today's speaker, Advocate Pramod Dubey, sir, who is going to speak with us on topic social media and freedom of expression. I welcome Shada Education Society Secretary, Honorable Professor Dr. Pradeep Dhaval, sir, Junior College Principal Dr. Seema Hardikar ma'am, all teachers, parents, all my dear students. It is my honor that I got the opportunity to introduce our today's speaker, Advocate Pramod Dhukre, sir. Advocate Pramod Dhukre, sir, has completed his BSc, LLM, and CAIIB. He is a visiting professor in law and management colleges and Thane campus of Mumbai University. He is an active member in YB Saban Legal Aid and Advice Center since 1997 and has also delivered lectures on Constitution, Right to Information, Maintenance of Parents and Senior Citizens Act, laws related to women and environment, etc. He has organized legal literacy camps for schools, colleges, senior citizens, and other organizations. He has published articles in newspapers, magazines of various NGOs on various laws. He has delivered speeches on Akashvani and Doordarshan on various laws like sexual harassment at workplaces. He has held Anna Hazare and has done an active participation in drafting the Right to Information Act of Maharashtra. He has also helped late Sri Narendra Dabholkar in preparation of draft of eradication of superstition bill of Maharashtra. He is also a visiting faculty of Mumbai District AIDS Control Society on human rights of HIV affected person and LGBT. He is also associated with Sri Murti Sangatana and other NGO as a resource person in law. He has voluntarily retired from Reserve Bank of India. All his work has been appreciated and he has been awarded with Jeshta Ratna in March 2020 by Vyas Creation. I again welcome you, sir, and request you to guide all of us.
Thank you very much, madam. Distinguished members of the management team, particularly Dhaval sir, then Principal Seema Hardikar madam, and her colleagues. It is indeed my privilege to be with you this evening, particularly during this lockdown period. The situation is very tough for the educational institutions so as to connect with the students, but I know the commitment with which the AVJ has been in the field for the last so many years. So I definitely take it as my honor to speak to your students on the subject called social media and freedom of speech and expression. Basically, social media is a very common platform nowadays for the people to connect. And if we really take it in the context of our students who are essentially junior college students, then let me tell them all that, friends, please be attentive today because I am going to tell you something which you may not be able to have it from anywhere, and in the absence of which, or if you don't assimilate it well, you may come across a number of issues which you may have to tackle. Let me tell you to begin with the story. That is, you may recollect in 2017, there was a movement called #MeToo. You all must be aware that many eminent Hollywood women actors, they initiated this movement. They initiated it against a giant of Hollywood called Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein, he has his production house in Hollywood, the Miramar Max Studio, and he has produced a number of movies. And being a very giant in the Hollywood, he was in the habit of, employing the newcomers, particularly new women in the industry, introducing them in the industry, and in the bargain, he used to demand the sexual favors from them. This went on for quite a long time. And finally, one lady, she stood against him and she started this movement, that is #MeToo. Now, this #MeToo is the movement on a platform social media, which is known as Twitter social media. Now, on Twitter, when this movement started, slowly it snowballed, and hundreds of women from the Hollywood, they joined her and they started telling her that we too were molested, we too were raped, and we too were, our modesty was also outraged by Harvey Weinstein. Until then, the Harvey Weinstein was a giant person. Nobody was in a position to touch him, not even the police. Even 2015, police tried to nab him under the same offense, but then police couldn't because he has connections in the right places. So he managed to evade all those inquiries. But in 2017, when due to this hashtag #MeToo, he was finally nailed. He was finally nailed. 95 Hollywood actress, they filed the petition before the courts and they said that this is the fellow who has outraged our modesty. This is the person who has raped us, who has, we are aggrieved because of his inappropriate behaviors. And that is how the story of Harvey Weinstein, it came to an end ultimately. He was sent to the prison and he was convicted for a period of 23 long years. So at the age of 69, when he was convicted for 23 long years, that clearly means that he is not going to come out till his death. So the point that I wanted to drive home is that this is what is the strength of social media. Now, generally speaking, women, they don't come out in the open and they don't voice their concerns and they don't raise the fingers against men, because we all know that not only in the film industries, but in most of the parts, be it a corporate, in a corporate world, be it education, you take health industry, whatever industries you take, it is basically dominated by men. And so naturally the women are in a habit of, tolerating everything and getting away with it. But this was the first occasion and it happened precisely because of the social media, the strength of the social media, which enables everybody to voice their concerns, to come together and to initiate certain movement which can make the system to take note of it, and ultimately the things fall in place. Recently, what is happening in United States, you all must be aware that the George Floyd, who has been killed by the US police, this particular movement has also been aided and helped by the social media, and the entire United States, they are agitating against the racial killing of George Floyd. So taking a clue from this strength of the Twitter, you all must be aware that Tanushri Datta, another actor from India, that is, she's working in Hindi film industry. She also had suffered, she also had encountered similar experiences in her life while working in Hindi cinema. When she returned from United States, she said the same thing. She said that me too have suffered the same thing. And she initiated the parallel agitation in India, and she too garnered the support of many Indian women, many Indian actresses who have encountered the same experiences at the hands of the Hindi film industry bigwigs. So ultimately nothing happened because collecting the evidences and nailing the people, it is a lengthy procedure. And our system, our government and our police law and order situation, it didn't ultimately they did inquire about the whole thing, but they couldn't get the evidences. The point is that this is the strength, friends, and you are living in this area. And these social media, which none of my generation could, try it when we were in adolescent age, but you are lucky to have it. And since you are lucky to have it, I feel that you must know how to handle it, how to make use of it for a constructive and a creative purpose, because this is a double-edged sword. This is a double-edged instrument. On the one side, the way it is so creative, as I told you, to initiate the movement, and you can garner the support, you can make the government hear you, and you can get the justice. On the other side, if it is not properly used, you can create some problems for the law and order. You can be a menace to the system, and your behavior can be troublesome to others. How it happens? Try to recollect what happened in case of a boys' locker room. I'm sure you all must be aware. This happened right on Instagram. And I'm sure that nowadays the generation is more active on Instagram. I mean, the seniors, they are more active on the WhatsApp, but the younger generation, I have been seeing that they're more active on the Instagram. So on Instagram, in this boys locker room group, adolescent boys, they started passing certain comments against women, particularly against the girls, about the girls who were studying with them in their schools and the colleges. And they used to discuss all nasty things, and they used to talk about sexually committing certain sexual offenses and sexually harassing girls, how to be aggressive in the sex kind of a talks started initiated in this boys locker room, and ultimately I mean it spilled on the road, and particularly we Indian society were shocked the way the Indian adolescent boys, they are behaving on a platform called boys locker room. And then the note was taken by the government, the investigation was done, the people who were I mean responsible for all this, mind it friends, you all are teenagers, but then you all are being misused. This is a big system, and in this big system, adolescent boys, they are being misused by this system. You are a customer, you are a customer, you are being used, and in order to lure you, there are certain techniques which have been used by the perpetrators of such platforms. I don't mean that it is the owner of the Instagram who initiated all these things. No, but then there are certain app makers who create the apps, who lure you all to their apps. You all start using it, and then ultimately, the end result becomes disastrous. So this is how the importance of our expression on social media is. You can express it in a creative manner to create certain moments. You can express yourself in a destructive manner to create a positions or problems for the law and order situation. The choice is yours. The choice is yours. But let me tell you that you are doing all these things because you are able to speak. You are able to express yourself. And from where do you get this? How can you express yourself? Do you think that you can express yourself so freely if you were living in China? There is no chance. In Chinese context, or in say any other context where there is no democracy, people are not allowed to speak freely. There is no free speech. There is no free expression. In India, we all are enjoying the free speech, freedom of speech and expression. Now let us see what it is. Now, freedom of speech and expression has come from the Constitution of India. We all know that. It's a very simple thing. Basically, the Constitution has recognized us as citizens of India. Being citizens of India, we are entitled to exercise certain fundamental rights. Now, we are guaranteed these fundamental rights. And we all know that speech and expression is one such thing. There are total 6 fundamental rights. That is freedom of speech and expression, freedom of movement. You can move anywhere in India. You can do your occupation. That is the 3rd freedom. There are 6 types of the freedoms that you enjoy being a citizen of India. But these freedoms which the Constitution has granted us, they are not unlimited. They are not unlimited. There are certain restrictions on it. Just because you have a freedom of speech, that doesn't mean that you should get on the road and start cursing somebody else. No, you are not allowed. Just because you have freedom of expression, you can't go and draw some obscene thing on the road. You can't hurt the feeling of others. So there are certain limitations on your freedom of speech and expressions. We need to know that. On the one side, we have a freedom of speech and freedom of expression. Now, remember, these are 2 different and distinct things. Now, freedom of speech means you can speak, fine. And freedom of expression, it is more than speaking. You have to express yourself. Now, how can you express yourself? You can express yourself in any number of ways, any which way that you want. If you want, you can draw a picture. If you want, you can write a poem. If you want, you can sing a song. If you want, you can do anything that you like. You are allowed. This is called as your expression. And this is a creative world. And in a creative world, and people tend to express themselves by doing anything. They can paint, they can write, they can read, they can sing, or they can prepare certain statues and the sculptures too. So these are all the freedom of expressions granted to us, subject to certain conditions. And the government is not entitled to prevent you from exercising your freedom of speech unless and until you cross your limit. And when do you cross your limit? When the government has a right to stop you from exercising your freedom of speech. That is, first thing is that when you do something which is against the safety and security of the nation, when you do something which damages or harms the friendly relations with the neighboring countries, when you do something, when you speak something which is against the decency and the morality, when you do something, you write something, you speak something which is against the law and order of the country, means if your speech or if your expression is going to disturb or the people communally, or their sentiments are disturbed, which are communal sentiments are disturbed, then you are stopped there, and the government will come at the right time, and government will arrest you and they will prevent you from expressing. So these are the limitations. So these are the four corners within which you as a student, you as a person, primarily you have to express your feelings. And that is why it is said that our democracy is far more a responsible kind of a democracy. We have got the rights, we have got the fundamental rights which we can go ahead and express. Not even the government can stop us, subject to these legal provisions which is given there in the Constitution, Article 19(2). Now, when the government exceeds its limits and stops you from speaking something which is right, then you can go to the court and you can tell the court that, look, my freedom of expression has been curtailed. It has been curtailed by the government, and government is not allowing me to speak. So you have a right to go to the Supreme Court and High Court under the respective articles of 32 and 226 and get it enforced. So this is your limit. So now that you have understood that you want to express something, this is your fundamental right. While exercising the fundamental right, be within the limits. If you think that you are within the limits, and even then if the government is stopping you, go to the court and tell the court, and the court will do the needful. So this is how the freedom of speech and expression is allowed in India. It is not the point. You must always remember that your freedom of speech is not indiscriminate. There are legitimate ways by which the government can curtail your freedom of speech, and the reasons given there in the Constitution. What is reasonable? If the government does something and if you feel it is unreasonable, you can go to the court, as I told you. What is reasonable and what is not reasonable, it has been decided in the various case laws, which I will not bombard you now with because you may find it little heavy. Fine. Now we have come from social media to freedom of speech and expression. Now you are a grown-up boys. You say that you are grown up. Okay, fine. But you are still adolescent. You still have not got the right to vote. So I don't take you all as grown up because you are still under 18. I presume it like that. Being under 18, you still have to listen to me what I'm going to tell you. Fine. Now you think that you have recharged your mobile. You have got the internet pack. And you want to use your internet pack, and you are using it freely, fine. But then there are certain occasions when the internet services are disrupted by the government. You must be aware. Now in Jammu and Kashmir, you must be aware, because of considering the terrorism prevailing over there, the law and orders being very delicate, the government discontinued the use of internet in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, enraged by this action of government for a pretty long time, it was fairly long period, that is more than 6 months or so, the internet was not made available to the people of Jammu and Kashmir, and citizens of Jammu and Kashmir went to the Supreme Court and they said that we want, freedom to access the internet. That is, they requested the Supreme Court that please recognize our right to access to internet as a right, rather a fundamental right. And Supreme Court went through all the petitions filed by them, all the points that they raised, and Supreme Court said in a clear term that in a current situation, internet is basically a technology and a vehicle for a communication. And internet being a vehicle of communication, people cannot be deprived of this vehicle. It is okay, it is fine that there is a terrorism and terrorists are misusing the internet connections. Okay, accept it. But then this situation need not continue for a fairly long time. After some time, central government has to release the internet access to the people and the people must get it. The simple reason is that when people get internet, they communicate with doctors, they communicate with their financial consultants, they communicate with each other. So communication with all these people is a core part of their living. So it is a right to life. And if you deny them the internet, which clearly means that you are denying them the right to life, which has been given to you under Article 21. And no government has a right to deny the people the right to life. Because in the absence of internet, you cannot contact your doctor, you cannot get the medical description, prescriptions, you cannot communicate with your teachers, then you cannot do anything. You cannot communicate with the people because it is not that every time you can go and physically meet people. And in no uncertain term, in Jammu Kashmir citizens petition, the Supreme Court has clearly said that the people have right to access to internet. Now, mind, this is a very landmark decision which the Supreme Court has given. The Supreme Court stopped just short of declaring it as a fundamental right. Because once the fundamental right has been declared, then it becomes a justiciable right. In the sense, you, if in the absence of it, if you don't get that right, you rush to the Supreme Court and get it enforced. So Supreme Court said that at the moment we appreciate it and we acknowledge it that the right to access to internet every citizen has, but it may not be a fundamental. We do not declare it as a fundamental right at the moment due to some reasons. We need to consider this issue in a larger perspective, but then right to access to internet has been upheld by the Supreme Court. Please understand this, because this issue is very tricky that way, and you may read this issue in a number of papers, but ultimately you will end up getting confused. So please understand that at the moment we have a right to access to internet on the one side. Now the second decision, I'll tell you only 3 decisions, don't worry. Now the second decision is that of a Kerala High Court. Now in Kerala High Court, Fahima Shirin, one lady, she approached Kerala High Court and she said that, sir, I need to approach have the internet as a right to access, and in the absence of right to access to internet, I may not be able to get education, and getting education is my fundamental right. Now you all must be aware that up till now the education was not a fundamental right, but education has been declared as a fundamental right under Article 21A. No doubt it is declared as a fundamental right for the children between the age group of 6 to 14. But then Fahima Shirin said that beyond that, if I want to gain the knowledge, if I want to educate myself on the various issues, I need internet, in the absence of which I cannot survive. So my right to life is severely compromised if I don't get the right to access to internet. That also has been accepted by the Kerala High Court, and the Kerala High Court said that yes, well said, because if a person is denied the right to educate on the various issues, he cannot survive as a human being. His self-dignity will be severely compromised. And besides that, remember one thing, internet also gives you a right to privacy. How? It is very simple that when I communicate with you on internet right now, it is between you and me strictly. There is no third party. There is no third party which has an access to our communication. So internet ensures the right to privacy also. And Article 21 says that you have a right to privacy also. So freedom of speech and expression is so important that right to access to internet has also been included into the same thing. on the one side. Jammu and Kashmir case, Supreme Court said. Kerala, Haima Shireen case, Kerala High Court said the same thing. Now, in case of Tripura, it is all the more interesting case because in Tripura too, some government servants, they approached Tripura High Court and they said to Tripura High Court that we want to declare, we want to have a right to post on a social media. Now, we all know that we have been, I mean, writing, posting something day in and day out. Morning, I get up and post something on Twitter. Afternoon, I sit on WhatsApp. Evening, I go on my Facebook wall. So this is how I go on posting. But then if I am a government servant, I don't get that opportunity because the government servants, they are bound by certain service rules, which says that the government servant cannot go on a social media. So government servants in Tripura, they approached Tripura High Court and they said that, please allow us, please give us the right to post on a social media. And Tripura High Court precisely acknowledged their right to post on a social media as a right. And therefore now it has been widely accepted. Mind it, these three decisions are fundamental decisions which have encompassed the social media, internet, and the people have gained another rights in their freedom of speech and expression bouquet. Now, in the freedom of speech and expression bouquet, now right to access to the internet has been added, and for the government servant, right to post on a social media, and for you and me also now we have got that right to post on a social media. So no one can prevent you and me from posting on a social media. Now, there are certain issues during the epidemic time. We are told that don't write this, don't write that. If you do that on a social media, then your post will be deleted, kind of a thing. That is a different story. In short, try to understand the freedom of speech and expressions includes a right to post on a social media and right to have an access to the social media. So this is what is very important. Now, let us come to the students of your age, that is adolescent boys and girls. Now, worldwide study has been conducted and they have found that nearly 89% of the teenagers, teenage students or the teenage boys and the girls, they have the smartphones. And by virtue of having an access to the smartphones, they have got an access to the world. They have got an access, they can express themselves and they have got access. Now, so far as the internet is concerned, there is around 4.3 billion people in the world, they have the internet access. And out of 4.3 billion people who have the internet access, 12% people belong to India. So you can imagine in India too, there is sizable number of the population, they have an access to internet, thanks to the internet revolution that has taken place. Now, friends, internet, social media, it is all the time painted in a black, but basically speaking, there are certain benefits for you all boys and girls, that is particularly the teenagers. It is very beneficial. It is beneficial in the sense it can strengthen the friendships and relations. You can make new friendships, you can develop certain new relationships also. Social media also helps to express your ideas creatively. You may have a number of ideas, but how to express it has always been an issue. You go on your Facebook wall, you write something, then you erase something, again you post certain picture. If you feel you try to sing something, put it there on the Facebook wall, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is. And then ultimately you come to know that, yes, you have done something different. And the moment people appreciates it, you come to know that you have done something creative thing. And you find yourself afresh. You think that you have some capabilities, you have some signature qualities which others don't have. So that way it really helps you very much. It also improves your digital literacy. Mind it, nobody, learns this digital literacy in the womb of a mother. We have to learn it after we take birth. So from that point of view, digital literacy is also important, and it helps us to have the digital literacy also. It helps us to have the collaborative learning also. Now, what is a collaborative learning? Collaborative learning means a learning with the collaboration of our friends. You indulge into some kind of a group discussion on your phone, on your WhatsApp group, on your Facebook. You start certain discussion. You learn from each other's experience. Then if you want to learn something, what do? You go on a YouTube, you try to find out the video. Supposing if you love music, Okay, you go and open certain music videos, and then you try to listen to it, then you try to emulate it. If you play guitar well, then you try to go on that, you take certain lessons. I mean, you learn practically everything, right from music to photography, on these platforms of YouTube. So this is how this is called as a collaborative learning also takes place, right from music to photography. So this is how, for adolescent boys and the girls in general, I'm now focusing on you all people. It is important. There are certain benefits. Now I'm going to tell you the benefits of it. And as I tell you that there is not only one, I mean, social media platform. The social media platform has been constantly evolving. So what social media platforms were there sometimes since say 2000, like Orkut and all, they are no more there. Now it has been replaced by Facebook. So like that, the social media platforms, the old social media platforms are being replaced by the new social media platforms, which is more advanced, which enables the users to have more access, more fast access, upload more photos, more information, and that empowers you. So likewise, a survey which has been conducted in United States, it differentiated the people, it analyzed the people. That is 25% people are on Instagram. It is a maximum number of people in United States are on Instagram. 24% are on Facebook. Then YouTube, there are 16%, and on Twitter, there are 5%. 2% are on TikTok, and 4% are on WhatsApp. So WhatsApp is a, now you will understand the WhatsApp that way has been relegated little back. It is not that popular as the Instagram is. And I have been inquiring with you all, I mean, habits of the students of your college, and I have been told that the students of AVG, they are mostly on Instagram. Am I right? I specifically made it a point to inquire about the current, I mean, generations and their likings. And you are rightly in line with the, I mean, likings of the United States people. So it clearly means that you are with the current. So these are the, I mean, platforms of the social media which are being widely used, and each service provider, mind it, each service provider has his own USP. Like Twitter has a 5%, and you all know that Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook and Jack Dorsey of Twitter, and they all have their own, I mean, USPs, unique selling points, and they try to lure you to them. You know, they say, don't go to Twitter, come to my Facebook. Then Instagram says, don't go to Facebook, come to me, kind of a things. And they constantly are in a business of pulling them to you, right? So you have to now decide. The choice is yours. You have to make a learned choice. If at all you have to choose one social media, for what purpose you go, are you in a position to do that? Just think, stop and think. United Nations, you know, Children's Fund, that is UNICEF, it has done certain studies about the adolescent boys and the girls, that is teenager boys and girls. They have conducted these studies, and they have given certain important suggestions. They have found out certain important things. That is social media, and the name of the report is that, is social media bad for the teens' mental health? I mean, your mental health has been checked. It has survey has been conducted about the mental health issues that the current generation adolescent boys and the girls are encountering, and they are saying that they have studied it extensively, and they have found certain important things which I would like to bring it before you. uh, UNICEF's finding is that, that is, the social media platforms are designed for the excessive use. You will agree with me. Because of this excessive use, every time you approach your parents and you demand money for recharging your internet packs. Why? Because you are using it excessively. Initially, you think that a pack of say 10 GB will be sufficient, but ultimately you come to know that it gets exhausted within 5 days or 10 days. So your excessive use is their unique selling point. Then the social media platforms, they tap your psychological biases and your vulnerabilities. Mind it, we human beings, we have, each one of us, I am not free from that. Each one of us, we have certain inherent psychological biases. And those psychological biases, they makes us vulnerable. You know, we are vulnerable to certain. So our weak points are properly studied by these people, and they try to capitalize on our weak points. What are our psychological biases, and how we are vulnerable, what line of thinking do we think, how we are biased, whether we are biased on gender lines, whether we are biased on religious lines, whether we are biased on caste lines, or whether we are racial, or whether we are biased on a national basis. Like Indians, they don't like Pakistanis, and the Pakistanis don't like Indians. So all these psychological biases are carefully studied by these social media platforms, and they try to exploit you, they try to lure you, they create the mechanism, their artificial intelligence algorithm, they try to lure you to them so that you get hooked to them, you get hooked to their particular platform, and you be on their platform all the time. So they see to it that your biases are nurtured, your biases are fed, you know. That may be one of the reason why Mr. Trump, who otherwise was lagging behind in the presidential campaign in United States against Hillary Clinton, he finally won because the social media helped him to point out the racial psychological biases which are deeply ingrained in the citizens of United States. Social media platforms also helped the president to exploit those psychological biases to the fullest possible extent, lure them to the ballot box, get the votings in his favor, and that is how he turned the table, and it was a surprise win. So you can well imagine the role of social media in making or in modulating your opinions, in driving you to certain points which they think is beneficial to them. So this is how the psychological biases are being exploited by them. Then remember one thing, nowadays, whenever I send some message on WhatsApp, and if I post if I write some lengthy things on WhatsApp or on my Facebook, I immediately get the responses, and those responses are in a form like emojis, like this, like smileys, they show me the thumb and all that, and then they vanish immediately. Then I remain perplexed. I get confused whether they have really liked, whether they have not liked, whether they have read it or not, because there is no way for me to judge, I feel. And UNICEF has also rightly said that sending emojis and sending LOLs, that is laugh out loud, these are all simply superficial things. They are not the real emotions. They are not the real emotions. So please understand that we are entering into an era of sign languages. So try to recollect that during our initial stages as a human beings, we were communicating each other with the sign languages, and this social media, they are again forcing us to communicate with the sign language. So are they going to take us ahead, or are they going to take us behind? That is, choice is yours. And the sign language, their sign language is always disturbing. They are very superficial. It doesn't help you to develop a physical bond. The physical bond has no options. So it is therefore important to understand these sign languages, emojis, and the LOL doesn't help you ultimately. Cyberbullying. Now, cyberbullying is one such very threatening and a very scary thing that we encounter on a social platform. Every now and then, we all come across the incidences when the adolescent boys and the girls, they commit suicide due to this cyberbullying. And cyberbullying in India, it is mostly the girls are victim, and the girls are victim because the body shaming part is there. And there are certain deep psychological biases about our color, about our body, and that results into a bullying. You are all adolescent boys and the girls. You try to shame others, you try to talk something nonsense, you try to, criticize somebody on his color, on his religion, on his looks, on his race, whatever it is. But then it ultimately results into a cyberbullying. So cyberbullying is that way a very bad thing. It is very aggressive thing. It is very offensive thing. And cyberbullying is the most destructive thing in the life of the adolescent boys and girls. Because cyberbullying, it disseminates the violent, hurtful, and humiliating words, and victims are likely to take up to the alcohols and the drugs. And if it doesn't stop over there. The victim is likely to commit the suicidal tendencies, and the victims ultimately commit the suicides too. So this is how the cyberbullying has to be. We have to be careful that we don't indulge into a cyberbullying kind of a thing. Now, the effects of that, as United Nations Children's Fund has said that the effects are very disastrous, and the children, particularly the adolescent boys and girls, they may undergo the depression, they may undergo severe anxiety, they may have the suicidal tendencies, and they may also develop the ADHD, that is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Now, as a teacher, when I go into my classroom, I immediately point out such students. I come to know that he is the person who is getting close to ADHD. And we handle those boys and the girls accordingly. But then it's a fact. ADHD is also a very scary thing, and you all must take care of protect yourself from this kind of addiction. And there are certain immediate dangers, the social excessive use of the social media, indiscriminate use of the social media. There are certain immediate dangers, and the dangers are that is adolescent children are exposed to inappropriate and upsetting, adult themed material. And that inappropriate and adult themed material is, in short, to tell you in short, it is nothing but the pornography. And adolescent boys and the girls, you all are not matured enough to handle this kind of inappropriate adult theme material. I'll tell you the reason why you are not able to do that. So this is something which you are not used to. This is something for which you are not conditioned to, and you are exposed suddenly to all this material. And this all happens on a social platform. No doubt, the service providers, they are not directly involved, but then this media has been exploited by certain app makers, certain people, and you are the targets of these people. So they expose you to certain inappropriate, upsetting, adulty material, which you can't handle. The simple reason is that the adult cannot, they have a questionable judgment. Adolescent boys have a questionable judgment. Now, as you grow old, your brain gets matured. We all know that very well. Now, the scientists have developed, neurologists have made it very clear, and it is a scientifically proven fact that the adolescent boys and the girls, adolescent human beings, they are incapable to pass a learned judgment or a proper judgment or a balanced judgment. It's a clear thing. The simple reason is that in our brain, there are three parts. One is a limbic system. Limbic system is our original brain, which helps us to, take the fight or flight, tendencies. Either you can fight the situation, or if you are more scared, you run away from the situation. That is a limbic system. Limbic system's function. Above the limbic system, there is a cortex. It's a emotional, controls your emotions. All our emotions comes from this cortex. And just in front of the whole brain, that is just above our eyes, and just behind that, there is a prefrontal cortex area of the brain. And this is a very vital, part of our brain, which helps and aids us in the matter of taking the right judgments. And those right judgments are taken only when that part of the brain is developed, fully developed. And when the boys are in an adolescent age, it is not developed. And therefore, doctor says that the adolescent boys and girls, this part of judgment, making brain is not developed, and therefore they are likely to make more mistakes. And since this is the situation, some scary, situation you may encounter, because you can't make certain judgments. You can't decide something on the merits of the whole thing. You can't reason out the actions that you take, but then you go ahead and act. And it creates certain scary situation. And those are that is oversharing in inappropriate and the risky way. What is oversharing? Oversharing means oversharing your personal information. You overshare yourself with an unknown person is very dangerous. Now, you all must be knowing that the maximum crimes that happens on in cyber world, It happens only because when people trust, there is a bond develops, and when the bond develops, the people share their, self, their information, or their financial well-being, or their physical, this thing, whatever information that they have, they tend to share. And therefore, if you are unable to decide the things in the right sense because of the non-development of your prefrontal cortex, you become a victim. You immediately fall victim because you tend to believe the person. And then what happens? You share your personal information to the third person, and then third person, he goes ahead and exploits you. This happens not only in case of a girls, because the girls may elope with some unknown persons, kind of a thing that we have seen, because these people, they are very expert in writing their post. They write their posts in such a manner that they make you emotional, and you feel that he's a most reliable person, and what my parents are telling us, they're all sham, and let me go with this person. So this is how it happens, because of the, I mean uh, non-capacity or the incapacity of the brain to take a reasoned this thing, judgment. Then second thing is that the impulsivity and the personal health risk. Impulsivity and the personal health risk, we all see that generally in the age of adolescence, the children are impulsive. I too have been impulsive at that age, but then my impulsivity also may entail some personal health risk, because I may be physically exploited. I may be physically exploited by the third person if I'm of adolescent age and I'm impulsive. So, as I told you again, the reason is that you tend to believe the person who is sitting at the other end of your communication. He tries to tell you something, he lures you with all the sweet words, and you, get carried away. You tell him everything, you accept whatever he says, you do whatever he tells you to do, and ultimately the things happen. So, cyberbullying, impulsivity, and ultimately it results into the erosion of a privacy. This is again a big thing, because there are certain cases. I have been in this thing, in touch with some of my friends who have worked in a cyber crime area in the police department, and they have been telling us that the children, they literally, throw their privacy to the newcomers. They try to convince them something, and they don't keep the privacy. So erosion of the privacy also takes place. Mind it, the privacy, as I told you, privacy is a very important fundamental right. It is attached to your right to life. If you have a privacy, means you have a dignity, and each one of us has a right to privacy, means our dignity has been accepted. The moment you surrender your privacy, your dignity is gone. Just remember, I'm telling you this very specifically and very openly. So do not surrender your privacy to an unknown person, to an unknown communicator. He may try to exploit you. This happens in case of a girls again, and again in case of a boys too. There are people outside who are very sweet talkers, smooth talkers. They talk very smoothly because it is their profession, and then they try to, exploit you to the fullest possible extent, because human trafficking is also taking place. Drug peddlers are also there on the line, and number of crimes are happening online. So you have to protect yourself, friend. So these are the immediate dangers. Now long term dangers, as I told you again: depression, then anxiety, ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, then decreased emotional sensitivity, that is lack of empathy. This is again phenomena which is very common and very rampantly found in children nowadays. Somehow they lack empathy towards whatever is happening around. They are not having a sufficient empathy to understand the problems of the others, the problems of their family members, the problems of their brothers. So this lack of empathy and insensitivity ultimately leads them to decide something which is very disastrous, which is very catastrophic, and it ultimately happens. You have seen there are multiple cases. There are multiple cases where the students have been committing n number of mistakes during this age. They may take up certain games like PUBG and all, and they may commit suicide and n number. I wonder how these things happen, but then it has been proven science that everything has been happening because this is this all happened. This is all design thing. It is all designed. The social media platforms are designed to exploit all of us. Seniors, they don't get exploited to that extent, but juniors, that is adolescent boys and girls, they immediately get targeted. And due to this, the perpetrators of the crimes, they are very active and they are operating on the, mostly they operate on these social media sites only. Now you take any crime, you take drug peddling, you take human trafficking, you take pornography business, and child pornography business, you take flesh trade. Everything is happening on internet nowadays, and on that internet, when they come across these adolescent boys and girls, they become their easy victim. And that is the reason why I dwell on all these things in a little what do you say, at length. But then you may feel that I am a doomsayer and I am telling you all it is all wrong. It is that nothing is wrong. I am just trying to tell you that friends, you all are of a very tender age. You still have to develop a bit. Your judgment has to be developed in a proper manner. Some certain logical faculties has to be developed. You be there on the social media. I don't tell you don't be on the social media. Be there on the social media, but be under the guidance of your parents, be under the guidance of your teachers. If you doubt something fishy is happening, somebody is communicating with you in an objectionable manner, please don't give that person your finger to, I mean, exploit you to the fullest possible. Immediately report it to your parents, your teachers, or your friends, and try or avoid being a victim of that. Now, that is one thing. Another thing is that because of your post on the social media, also again you can create certain problems, as I told you, like hate speech, body shaming, cyberbullying. You have to prevent yourself from all that. Now, you may feel that because of because all your friends are indulging into bullying someone, you also go and bully that person. Please don't do that. You have to avoid all this. You have to understand all these things. That there is a thin line between the banter and bullying. Now, banter and bullying, the thin line, if you don't understand, you will end up in being, I mean, a victim or a perpetrator of the crime. Don't do that. And mind it, friends, let me tell you that if you commit a crime, you may be underage, you may be under 18, but then yet you are accountable. You are liable to the law, and the police may send you to the correction home if you indulge into any such thing which will result into outraging modesty of a woman, bullying someone, which will result into committing somebody committing suicide. All these kind of things are crime. There are a number, the crimes have been detailed there in Indian Penal Code, of which the police can take cognizance. Recently, I'll tell you, during even this pandemic period also, the police have nabbed 366 persons for having committed certain mistakes on the social media. Their crime was they kept on spreading rumors. They kept on putting certain offensive posts on the WhatsApp group and the social media group, which resulted into spreading rumor. Now, spreading rumor is a big problem for India. You all know that we are encountering a mob lynching. We have seen that the cow vigilante people, they have committed certain mob lynching. Then recently in Paligar, also you must have seen that there was a rumor was spread on social media that some people, they are coming and attacking our society, our village. So before that, let us go and hit them. And those villagers, they went and killed those 4 innocent people. So this is a very disastrous effect of the rumors spreading. So don't be the rumor mongering. You have to be a very responsible citizen. And being a responsible citizen, you have certain duties to do. That is, you be respectful, be kind, be authentic, be your true self. Stop mindlessly scrolling and actually be social. This is very important, because scrolling doesn't develop a bond. As I told you, the emojis and the LOLs will not help you develop a physical bond. Why do you come to the college now? Nowadays, the college is not there. You must be feeling very bored at home. Why? It is simply because unless and until you meet people in flesh, you don't feel happy. So unless you hug your friends, you don't feel happy. You be with them, you talk to them. That is what is more important. Then avoid hate speech post. Hate speech post is the most dangerous thing. From the slightly legal point of view, let me tell you that at the moment there is no specific description of the hate speech post. But then there are certain people who have been recommending government to define what amounts the hate speech post and try to nab the people. Then avoid too much of a personal information. Remember one thing, keep your privacy intact. Don't try to give your personal information like your birth date, or like information about your parents, information about your sisters and brothers. Don't share this kind of an information, and do not upload or share inappropriate messages, photos and videos. That is ultimate thing, because we mechanically forward other things. It is a very bad habit, but then we have indulged into it. So instead of doing that, if inappropriate material, if you receive such inappropriate material, please resort to deleting it from your very own video. So even if you delete it, you will not be caught by the law. I'll tell you the reasons. Now, it is a very severe crime to share the pornographic clips of children. It's a very severe crime. If you are caught, then there is no way out. The police will not spare you, and a crime will be charged, and you will definitely face the music for that. So please don't ever do that. Don't ever share the child pornographic post. Don't ever see that in the first place. If someone sends it to you, tell them please don't do it, because it is a severe crime. The police are taking actions against the prevention of this offenses against Children's Act. So don't do that. So this is how you can be, a responsible citizen, and you can still say with a pride that yes, I have a right to access to internet. Yes, I have a right to post the social media. And I will also tell others that yes, the students of AVG junior college, they have a right to post on social media. They are posting it responsibly. They are posting it with a great sense of pride, and they are mindful of their duties, which are enshrined in the Constitution. Thank you very much, friends. If you have any questions, please go on. And I hope that you have found it useful. Let me tell you that if you are interested, you can go on my YouTube channel, because to create the legal awareness, I have initiated a YouTube channel that is Advocate Pramod Dhokle, my name. You put there and you will come across that. And I have put all the legal issues in a very short video, that is 7 minutes video maximum. I make at the most 10 minutes. And in that, I post the videos related to the rights of women, that is Domestic Violence Act, then how the single transferable, what kind of a election takes place, then freedom of speech and expressions. I have my presentation there. There are total 10 videos. Please visit it, see it, subscribe it, and please get back to me to suggest me if at all you feel like suggesting anything, and do see it in the first place. And do come on my Facebook wall and let us be friends. We can share more information and we can help each other to be a more matured person. Thanks. Thank you very much. And at the end, let me say one more thing, that it is indeed my honor again that Madam invited me on this webinar, and I could interact with the students of AVG, and I am also grateful to Professor Dhaval sir, who is in charge of the AVG, because it has been his constant endeavor to expose his students to some new and critical material which is important for their day-to-day life. Thank you, Dhaval.
Thank you so much, sir, for making this webinar more informative and guiding us on. So if anyone has any question, you can ask it by clicking your raise hand sign on the screen. Yes, anyone has any question?
Sahil Navar.
Sahil Navar.
Yeah.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. I have a question. That what do you think about the trolling a person in social media, and what do you mean by trolling perfectly?
Yeah, as I told you that trolling has not been defined in law, because trolling is a very slang term. It has not been precisely defined in any kind of a law. This is the word which that we commonly use. Okay. Now, because of your posting something against somebody, which is humiliating to that person, which is insulting to that person, or which belittles that person's dignity, then it becomes an offense. Say, for example, Sahil, if you write something wrong about your friend who happens to be a woman, and if you try to make certain remarks which is objectionable about it, then it becomes a crime. Trolling per se is not a crime, but what you write, it will be declared as a crime under that particular under the head of that particular crime. It may be outraging modesty, or it may be any violent, overtures, or say stalking. These are all the crimes. Writing something may amount to stalking also. Even again, that is a objectionable crime, cognizable crime. So trolling per se, it's a very broad term.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, I guess there are no further questions. I request Honorable Principal Ma'am, Dr. Seema Adhikar Ma'am, to say a few words.
Thank you, Sampada. Thank you, sir, for such a nice session. And now it is need of our that this session was really required. That we are moving to the virtual sessions as this COVID-19 situation. Now there was I just heard one term that emotion is killing emotions. This was the what you spoke today. It was really nice. One more app is in the market, that is Telegram. Okay, it is like WhatsApp only. So students, they are more getting internet addicted since last 2-3 months. Everybody is at home and everybody has to depend on internet only. So there is a lot of use of even small kids now. They are parents are really worried that how they can allow their students, because all schools and colleges, they are moving for virtual classes. Since we do not know, this very uncertain situation. So I would just like to know that till what age it should be allowed, because when for school students, like even for junior college students also, they are all monitored when we allow them to use internet. And this junior college students, of course, they are moving out, they are taking their mobiles in classes, and parents do not have that much control on that. But for school students, how it would affect their learning, and till what age it is advisable to conduct virtual classes, as we are talking about use of internet.
Yeah, right, ma'am. That is a big issue. In fact, this issue is a nagging issue to all the people in the educational field. And ultimately, as I have told you that the UNICEF's finding itself is so very devastating that it clearly says that even the adolescent boys are not capable of handling the social media. How come these small children will be in a position to do that?
Yes.
I think in our country, we swing from one end to another end directly. We don't find a main position, So I don't think that providing a handheld device, that is a smartphone, in the hands of a children and asking them to do the e-learning will solve the issues. It will not solve the issues. And I feel that we shouldn't be in a hurry, We shouldn't be in a hurry. No doubt, currently due to the pandemic, we are on a pause button. We have paused all our activities, educational activities. We will continue for some time. But I am strictly, after going through all these reports, I feel that the children should not be given the smartphone, because the smartphone things cannot be controlled. We have literally, though it is said that the parental control has to be exercised, it is better said. It is said in a manner, but then it can't be practiced in reality. So it is a disastrous thing. And I don't think that our government will ever promote that. If at all the e-learning has to be done, then e-learning has to be done in the classrooms.
Yes.
I feel the children should physically go to the classrooms, and then under the surveillance of their teachers, they should undergo those kind of this thing, e-learning. Say, for example, now supposing one teacher is already there in the class, and remaining 9 teachers are not coming. Fine. Now those 9 teachers, they may come on the e-room classes, and they can do they can teach them e-learning way, and the students, let the students be together and do it together, because physical contact and physical interface with the teacher has no substitute. And it is very difficult to adjust their understanding, assimilation of the knowledge also. what instrument do you have to judge a student whether he has understood what has been taught to him online or not?
Absolutely. Plus time also, you cannot have the normal teaching what you are doing in the classroom. It is not possible, internet connections are also quite disturbed now. Rainy season is starting. So everything, I don't think so there will be learning just for the sake of, that you are engaging students. It would be like that. Then certain parents, both of the parents, they are working. So they cannot leave their mobile at home or
I
in
feel
Wi-Fi.
in this area, ma'am, I feel that again educational institutes and students, it's a big market for the manufacturers of these electronic gadgets, and they are trying to exploit the situation, and corona pandemic is going to give a boost to their business. So these are the people who are planting these news, these are the people who are trying to create a rosy picture, and they are trying to convince us that e-learning is the ultimate thing.
Yes.
Now till the end of the world, the corona will not go, so you be in your home and purchase our gadgets. So we have to have certain restraint on us, and not to jump to the conclusion, not to jump and buy, and not to force our students to buy all those gadgets.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Let
And
us
yes, and certain companies, they have developed that self-learning apps. That are those apps also. I don't think so. How child will understand, everything. For college students, it is okay. He may take guidance from somewhere, but for school students, it's not possible. That in that self-learning app also.
yeah.
So digitalization is going on. That is, that's a big market, and everywhere people are, if anybody you talk, then they will say, no, we have started classes, we are doing this, we are using this and that. I would not take name, but that is very popular, at which, students are using. Big international schools, they are, depending on that. But I do not think so that it is that effective,
Yeah.
that because people are losing that human interaction. Even my son, when I speak to him that 1.5 year, because I was to visit him in May, but I could not visit because flights were cancelled. So when I say that it is 1.5 year, I didn't see you. Said every day we are talking over, we are having video calls. Then why you want to meet? So this is the question. And if I speak to my mother, she asks me that when you're married, I said, yeah, we have to meet. Like these are, generations also, they are changing now. People are more, children are more depending on these visual things. This is really scary.
Yes.
And even if you are using this for Instagram, they keep on saying you use Instagram, do not do Facebook. And whenever you have interaction with these kids, they will talk only social media.
Yeah.
Do not have that they read, this book, it was having very nice, any article or anything. Like everything is moving around social media. Yeah,
Now,
so
basically, they have created a market of social media.
yeah, and now just we have heard news that 13-year-old boy committed suicide because parents restricted him from using internet. So these kind of things are happening. So this session was really very fruitful for our students, especially junior college students who are more into this social media. And we are looking forward to many more such sessions. If you could, please guide our school students also.
Sure.
Because they are too small, but still,
Yeah.
at the age of 12 year onwards, if you could please guide them, so it would be honor for us.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for giving your valuable time to us today.
Thank
Thank
you
you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, Sankada, over to you.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now, at the end of today's webinar, I would like to explain.
If you please check, Dhaval sir is there, so he would like to speak, please. Dhaval sir is there. I think he joined. Yes. So I would request Dhaval sir to please 2 words in this webinar.
It's a very nice session which is required today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much on behalf of Ananda Vishwa Gurukul
Thank you,
and Sharda Education Society. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. My pleasure, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So now at the end of today's webinar, on behalf of Anand Vishwa Gurukul, I would like to extend my vote of thanks to our today's speaker, Advocate Pramod Dhuke sir, our management of Sharda Education Society, Honorable Secretary Dr. Pradeep Dhaval sir, Principal Dr. Seema Hardikar ma'am, all teaching and non-teaching staff, and all my dear students who have joined us with Zoom and Facebook. Now with permission of Principal ma'am, here I declare that today's webinar is over.